Okay, first things first, Hereditary is really good. Okay, you should see it. It's a great movie. It's worth your money. It's worth seeing. It is not the era-defining masterpiece that everybody's telling you it is. Okay, it's not the new Exorcist. Put it that way. It's incredibly atmospheric. It's creepy. It's a superb first feature from Ari Aster. The acting is unbelievable, but a lot of it doesn't work, and in particular, the ending sucks. Okay, I'm sorry, but sticking the landing is very important in a horror movie, and for my mind, Hereditary really blows it. So while you should definitely go see it, here are 5 recent-ish horror movies that I think are better, because we are living in a bit of a renaissance for the good horror movie, aren't we? Directors have remembered how to be creepy rather than just icky, and we finally seem to have outgrown that stupid bloody torture porn phase. So, yeah, see Hereditary, but see these as well. Number 5, A Cure for Wellness. I was really surprised by this one, and this is kind of anomalous in my lineup, because while most good horror movies these days tend to be sort of plucky little independent productions, this one was quite a big deal. It was written and directed by Gore Verbinski, of all people, the Pirates of the Caribbean guy. Also did that very poorly received Lone Ranger movie a couple of years ago. I really like this. It's like a sort of modern day Hammer movie, in that it's about a gormless innocent being sucked into unfathomably creepy goings-on in this castle in the Central European hills. And the whole thing revolves around the fallout from possibly satanic experiments carried out by some perverted 19th century nobleman. It's also the first thing I've seen Dane DeHaan in as the lead, where he isn't completely miscast. I keep seeing Dane DeHaan playing sort of handsome traditional leading men characters, and he's not, is he? He's a scrawny little weirdo. And in this, he gets to be a scrawny little weirdo, and it really works. And Jason Isaacs is in it, and anything Jason Isaacs is in is good because Jason Isaacs. Number 4, Get Out. All right, I don't need to tell you anything about this movie. You've already seen it probably. If you haven't, you really should. Again, brilliant first feature. I found it wonderfully disturbing. Didn't actually find it that scary, if I'm honest, but that's possibly because I'm white. And that's what Get Out is about. It's about how scary it is to be the one black person in a room full of white people, even if the white people are really trying to be friendly and not racist. And the real genius of Get Out, of course, is that the scary white people are not a bunch of rednecks. They are bohemian middle-class liberals. Even to the point where Dad is played by Bradley Whitford, the archetypal white Hollywood middle-class liberal. If you're a hardcore horror nerd like myself, maybe some of the reveals in Get Out won't land as hard as they would with the people who don't know much about horror movies, particularly if you've seen The Stepford Wives. I mean, let's be honest, it's basically The Stepford Wives except racism instead of sexism. But, also, terrific ending. They shot 2 different endings for Get Out, and just for once, they went with the right one. Number 3, A Quiet Place. Again, you've probably seen this already. Has a lot in common with Hereditary. Gets a lot of the same things right. In particular, there's a great performance from the young girl who is actually deaf, playing a deaf character, which is, I guess, a little step forward in some way. Whole thing put together by John Krasinski, who's probably not that well known in this country, but is much better known in America because he basically played the Martin Freeman character in the American version of The Office. His actual wife, Emily Blunt, plays his actual wife, and it's a superbly simple setup. Here's the thing, horror movies should be showers rather than tellers. Hereditary, for most of its length, is a shower. It shows rather than tells. And then it starts telling, and it all goes a bit wrong. Quiet Place, by definition, is a movie with hardly any dialogue, and so it has to be a shower. And it's a superbly simple premise that it refuses to elaborate on. There are monsters. If they hear you, they eat you. That's it. You never find out who the monsters are, where they're from. Are they aliens? Are they extra-dimensional? Are they mutation? It doesn't matter. If they hear you, they eat you. That's all you need to know. And again, the ending is perfect. Number 2, The Babadook. Everything Hereditary gets wrong, The Babadook gets right. Okay? If, like me, you've seen Hereditary and you kept going, then see The Babadook, because all the mistakes Hereditary makes, The Babadook sidesteps very deftly. Has a lot in common with Hereditary. It's basically about a bereaved mother going insane. And like the first half of Hereditary, it's kind of up to the audience to decide how much of the apparent creepy goings-on are actually happening and how much of it is just happening in the protagonist's imagination because she's losing her marbles. But The Babadook sticks to its guns much better about this, and also the ending, again, very clever. Just as you think it's finally nailing its colours to the "is this actually happening" mast, it kind of gear shifts, and by the end of the movie you realise you might actually have been watching a completely different story from the one you thought you were watching, and they should totally make that scary children's book, and you should totally be able to buy it, and you should totally go to friends' houses who have kids and just leave it on the shelves in their bedroom and then walk away. Number 1, we need to talk about Kevin. I know what you're thinking, this is not a horror movie, and you're right, in terms of genre, in terms of tropes, this is not a horror movie, but it is the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. Lynn Ramsey, the director, Glaswegian director, understands horror, not the genre, but the emotion, horror, better than any other director working today. As you'll know if you've seen this or her more recent movie, You Were Never Really Here, which is a kind of taxi driver-ish thriller starring Joaquin Phoenix. Now, if you've seen Hereditary, you'll know that one of the most telling things about that movie is that the most harrowing scene in the film doesn't involve anything supernatural. Just a bad thing happens. And the film depicts the bad thing, but moreover depicts the aftermath of the bad thing and people's responses and reactions to the bad thing in such an unflinching way that that's the bit of Hereditary that really stays with you. And unfortunately, it kind of makes all the hocus pocus shit when it finally kicks in look all a bit silly by comparison, in my humble opinion. Lynn Ramsey's film of Lionel Shriver's We Need to Talk About Kevin is like that scene in Hereditary but stretched out for the entire film. It's about the horror of a bad thing happening. A terrible thing happens, and the film splits its narrative between the build-up to the terrible thing happening and everybody failing to see it coming, and the aftermath, in particular, the person who does the bad thing's mother, played by Tilda Swinton, having to live in the aftermath of that terrible thing. And it's utterly grueling. And that's the thing. While I would heartily recommend you seeing it, and I have seen it, and I think it's genius, don't think I ever want to see it again. All right, there you go. Those are 5 recent horror movies that, for my money, were better than Hereditary. Do see Hereditary, but see those as well. And tell me what you think about Hereditary, and indeed all the other films I mentioned in the comments. Do sign up for the Patreon page, do sign up for the YouTube channel, and I will see you soon.